Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Head. Hopefully you like this video. So, I posted a video a little while ago, right before the Mets took out David Peterson, and I said that the Mets were in a lot of danger in the middle of the game because they got off to a very quick lead in the first inning, but they did not score any runs. They didn't get any hits. My goodness, they haven't gotten a hit since that first inning. How many batters did Lazaro retire? 40-something? I mean, 47 batters after that? I'm sort of exaggerating. But the point is that I was very concerned, and they brought in Reed Garrett, and Reed Garrett has been a disaster. I'm going to say this, and I posted this on X. When does the criticism of the pitching coach come into play? Nobody criticizes him other than myself. Okay, this is a team that's led the league in walks. This team has led the league in falling behind the count. Tom Seaver always said that the most important pitch is the first pitch. It's first strike, first out. And we don't see that here with this group. And we haven't seen it with this group for years. Now, we'll have 15 games after this. I'm doing this in the ninth inning because I'm so disgusted watching this game. Because I was thinking to myself that they needed to score more runs in that first inning to put this game away. And they didn't do that in the first inning. Starlin Marte made a terrible play, and, getting picked off, getting doubled up at second base. Terrible base running. And this is a guy who's a good base runner. Terrible base running play. And another couple of things, okay? I did not want to see the Mets trade Drew Gilbert because he was a high-energy player, and you're seeing the high energy out there in San Francisco right now. He was a player that needed to be here. He should have been here this year. Why David Stearns did not call that kid up when the Mets need a little bit of a boost in that outfield? He's got a rocket of an arm. Sounds like Frank Costanza. He's got a rocket of an arm. But he's a high-energy player and everyday player, and they needed that infusion of blood into this lineup. As good as some of these guys are, they're a little static. Mark Vienna's a little static. Barbady is static. Mauricio's static. Mauricio, I don't understand why he's been on this roster for the last 6 weeks. He has not played. You know what I mean? Why is he on this roster if he hasn't played? I don't understand that. So, the maneuvering of the front office moves have not been great. And I was not happy that Drew Gilbert got traded because I thought that he could have been a player that could have helped them down the stretch. And I felt that way over the last few months because he had played so well after getting off to a slow start because he had that injury last year. And his reputation in the minor leagues, and he has played big games when he played at Tennessee in college. So it made no sense. Now in the ninth inning, it's 0-62 when trailing after 8 innings. This is the only team that hasn't won a game in the ninth inning. That's a problem. That tells you there's something wrong with this group. And I've been talking about this for quite a long time now. The sort of lack of character. And I don't think these guys are bad guys. I just think that when it comes down to it, they go through these ups and downs. When they're in these downs and they're really scuffling, they stay down. And we've seen this now for too many years. Back to Stearns. Cedric Mullins is a disaster. To get back to the Drew Gilbert story. Cedric Mullins is a guy that has done nothing with the Mets. Nothing. He looks like a player that is done. Okay? He looks like a player that is finished, in my opinion. The bat looks slow. He's a terrible outfielder. And why did they make that trade for him? When you had a guy like Harrison Bader, who has proven that he can play in New York and gets into these hot streaks that he's gotten. I would mention he is a Mets killer. He was a Mets killer prior to this stretch this year. But obviously with the infusion of wanting to get back at the Mets for not re-signing him, he is taken it to a whole new level. But in the meanwhile, you make this deal for Mullins, and then he's been such a disaster. You put McNeil out there. McNeil blew a ball. McNeil's been okay in center field, but the ball was hit right out, and the ball was hit over his head by Kemp. Otto Kemp, he should have caught that ball. There was no reason for him to let that ball go over his head in the sixth inning. It was not That's not good. Okay? So that tells you the lack of sort of... Now Stearns has been a good general manager. He was a good general manager in Milwaukee. I don't understand the sort of... Looking at it now, the sort of passivity. I'm very patient here. But seeing as how Gilbert has played so well, and they didn't really have an answer with Mullins. What was the point of that? Now, they also made this deal for Ryan Hells. Who knows what the hell happened there? He might be the Darren Ruff of 2025, from what can we tell. Mets didn't give up that much. I wasn't all that big on Baez, to be honest with you. But I wasn't all that big on him as a prospect. But Gilbert was the guy you didn't want to deal, because he was a guy that, again, he played in big games in Tennessee. He has experience in those situations, and there was no reason why the Mets shouldn't have brought him up prior to the trade deadline when they needed help in center field. And Mets are going to really pay for that. And I know Tyler Rogers has pitched well, but that is a player you don't move. He's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good everyday player. And I would mention an at-bat in the first inning, which really didn't affect the score, was the Pete Alonso at-bat. He took pitches right down the middle in that first inning that sort of set the stage for this whole game. And he's had a great year, but boy, oh boy, that first inning set the stage for this entire game. Even though they scored 4 runs, not the Rams in there. He's got a 2-1 count against Pete, foul ball, but went out. It is a very frustrating group to watch, and I'm getting quite tired of it. Major changes need to be made with this team. The problem is we have a general manager that has not been here that long. Does he have the stomach? Does he have the understanding that he has to do that? I don't know. And I was thinking about this the last couple of days. Lindor's not going to get moved. He's got a big contract. I'm fine with him at shortstop. However, he's getting up there in age. Soto obviously is not going anywhere. He's had a big year after a slow start. And he's young. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be part of this team. But we have 3 guys that are on the bubble here. Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and Brandon Nimmo. And that's going to have to think long and hard on what they want to do with those 3 guys. Got 2 outs now in the 9th inning with Vientos up. And the situation at third base, they've got to resolve this situation. They have too many players on this infield. They have too many middle infielders on this club. Quite a few guys playing out of position. And guys that are not doing more when they've had the opportunity. Brett Beatty should have been doing more with his at-bats. Same thing with Vientos. Luis Angel Acuna, who is very talented, has no power, has no extra base pop. Doesn't even get any doubles, doesn't get any triples. He does everything else elite. His batting average is fine, but the OPS is terrible. The Mets have lost now 6 in a row. That's swept by the Phillies. So, Mets now have 1.5 game lead on these teams. But I can go on and on. But, Stearns, and I don't normally complain about the general manager, but I've seen enough that he did not do enough at the trade deadline. He wasn't smart enough in terms of like I said, Mullins he has been a disaster. He hasn't hit at all. And explains why he's gone from an all-star to nothing. I mean, he looks done, folks. He looks finished as a player. In the short amount of what I've seen over the last month or so, he looks done as a player. Helsley, if he's not getting those sliders on, in for strikes, he can't blow the ball by you. And the sort of refusal to keep Ryan Stanek in this bullpen, it's almost like a Daniel Vogelback 2.0. You have a general manager that's stubborn, doesn't want to get rid of him. Okay? You have guys in the Mets minor league system that can come up here and pitch just as badly as him, and you don't have to kill us with his excuses and his nonsense on the field. And the thing is that you have guys like Dylan Ross in the minor leagues that they can bring in here. Ryan Lambert is in the minor leagues, guys that are relievers that have ability and that have a future. And I think it's very difficult to watch this club ask these young guys to pitch in these big games. You have 3 rookie pitchers that have 5, 6, 7, 8 starts under their belt, and you're asking them to carry this team. That ain't right. Now, I know the Mets have had some injuries, but again, to get back to what I said before, the pitching coach has to be held responsible for the result on the field. Got to throw strikes, got to get ahead in the count. Enough of this nonsense. I don't feel confident with him. I've talked about this for years. And this team as a group is just not cutting it. And they need to make major changes to this team. I had mentioned the Blue Jays of the mid to late 80s had issues where they would collapse. The 1987 Blue Jays collapsed and lost to the Tigers in the last week of that season. And it took them years to get to where they wanted to be, where they won Series 92 and 93. Okay? You have to be decisive. It gets to a point where you have to be decisive when you run your team. And that's what's needed here. Let's have to figure out what they need to do. If this thing falls apart completely, major changes have to be made. I've been screaming about this for years. I was screaming about this in 2022 for 3 years. It's very unusual for a veteran team, to be held together that long and not have won. But to go back to that Blue Jays analogy, and I think it's a good one. It's a really good one. In that you had the Blue Jays. They collapsed in '87. They lost the division in '88 to the. They finished in third, I guess, in '88. But in '89 they won the division. But there were players on that team. I don't think the team was necessarily happy with. The following year, '90, they lost the division again. The Red Sox won again. And in '90, and then in that offseason, they made that big trade with the Padres and brought in Robbie Alomar and Joe Carter. Okay, and that changed the whole franchise. They went to the postseason in '91. They did lose to the Twins, but they were in the right track. '92, they brought in guys like Jack Morris, and the following year they brought in Dave Stewart, and then they were on their way, and they had a great team, a great team. So the Mets have to look at this. We want to have loyalty to the players, but it's all about the name on the front of the jersey. Okay. If the Mets aren't winning, okay, the loyalty goes out the window, all right? Mets have shown great loyalty to these players over the last 5 years. Steve Cohen has spent a lot of money on Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, Edwin Diaz. And they've been spinning their wheels in these seasons. They spin their wheels. From 2019 to this year, or from last year, that's 5 seasons. Take away the 1 year, 2020. They've made postseason 2 of the 4 years. That's just not good enough. I want to see them go to the World Series. This is what we all want. This out. The owner wants it. Down. From ownership down. Now, bringing in David Stearns was a smart move. It's a good move. It was a good move at the time. But he has to be more aggressive now. Excuse me. He has to be more aggressive. We need a guy that's going to make trades. The first big trade he made is trading Drew Gilbert, the first prospect. First prospect the Mets have traded in 4 years. And he's going to burn them. Now, tomorrow's a big night. The Mets are going to face against some guy named DeGrom for the first time at Citi Field. And Jonah Tong's going to pitch. That is a tall order. Don't expect a lot of runs in that game. Expect a lot of walks from Jonah Tong, who's not walked anybody this year. I expect a lot of walks and a lot of falling behind the count for that young guy. And DeGrom's going to come in and he's going to throw strikes. He's going to mow that lineup and cut that lineup in pieces. We know what he can do, and he's going to do that. Expect the Mets loss 3-2. It's going to be a tough weekend, and that's a good team. They won World Series 2 years ago. This team knows how to win. We know that. Well, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please Follow me on Facebook. And, of course, subscribe to me on the Baseball Hut. I appreciate the time you take to watch. And, of course, we'll get through this. God willing, the Mets will win this wild card. It's going to be tough now. They put themselves in quite the situation. They've not played well for a long time this season. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.